Hey, good morning, everybody. Carolina Weather Authority meteorologist Joshua Nagelberg. It's about 8:30 in the morning here on Thursday, the 23rd of July. And we apologize. We've had some issues with our Facebook page since we added that supporter button. Apparently, it broke Facebook. So the updates yesterday weren't kind of our usual ones. I know Mike had several updates to share about breaking news in the tropics. Max had a daily forecast. I had an article last night. So we were all pitching in, but Facebook wouldn't let us post or share. So it looks like that's fixed. So just kind of bear with us. I guess COVID-19 is kind of taking its toll on all the programmers over there. Maybe we need to just throw them a little bit more cheese so they can run the wheel. I'm just kidding, of course. But anyway, I hope you all are doing well. I know it's been a stinking hot week. We do see a little bit of break coming from the heat. Just a little, because next week we ramp that heat right back up. So yeah, definitely dog days for us here. But I'm going to talk tropics with you, and let me roll right on into that. So let's have a look over here. Excuse me. Here's our CarolinaWXAuthority.com page. Here's the article I wrote last night. Yes, we had Gonzalo formed yesterday, and that is our fastest storm to the G by 2 days. And I apologize, I got a little lump in my throat. Here's the heat that we're talking about today. I see a 93 in Raleigh. I think that's going to be considered chilly compared to what it was here a couple days ago. Still pretty stinking hot. But yeah, we do have to keep our eyes on the Cape Verde season. If you've been following my videos here in the last few weeks, you've known that the end of July I started talking about things ramping up. Well, here it is, the end of July, and my prediction, I was actually a little bit conservative, with July 30th being kind of when I thought maybe our first hurricane would form. We're watching Gonzalo now. It's not very big, but I do think, I guess Gonzalo is how they call it. I guess it's probably going to be our first hurricane today or tomorrow, so 23rd or 24th. Not the earliest we've ever seen a hurricane, but, you know, pretty much in line with what we've been expecting this tropical season. And before I forget to remind you, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our videos. You can see all the videos I've been talking about, how we've been performing. In my opinion, fairly well. We could always do better, of course, but, you know, we deal with the cards that are dealt to us. And if you have friends in the Carolinas or anywhere in the Southeast, please have them subscribe and follow as well. And our Facebook page, we're going to talk more about this here. And ironically, right after we posted this graphic, a new depression formed in the Central Gulf, and that's not really a surprise. But let's take a look here now. That's Tropical Depression 8, not a threat to the Carolinas. Looks like Texas and to some degree Louisiana will be affected by that. Gonzalo, something that we need to watch, and it's not even on the map, but another wave will be coming off Africa that I think we need to keep a close eye on. So let's take a look at tropical tidbits here. I love this page. Thanks, Levi. Here's Gonzalo up to 65 miles per hour, so really not too far from being a hurricane. And it is predicted to be a hurricane later today or tonight. And we do have hurricane watches out for Barbados, as well as some of the Windward Islands. It's not a very big storm, so we don't have the entire island chain covered. And it also looks like, because of the size of the storm, there's a lot of potential fluctuation in its intensity. This is not an easy storm to predict how strong it may be. You know, I could see how it strengthens quickly into a major hurricane before the weekend and then starts to fizzle next week over the Caribbean. But models, and I'll show you here in a little bit, do take it across the Central Caribbean. And I'd be more concerned for us here if it was going through into the north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, but I don't think that's going to be what we're looking at. Gulf of Mexico and Northwest Caribbean would be more of a concern for us at this point. And I'll show you some spaghetti here. I'm starting to get hungry anyway. And we're not seeing great confidence in our models. It's a lower end storm that's very small but intensifying quickly. So the model average does take it near Jamaica and then across the southern Gulf. Not really anything showing it going through the Bahamas or points east for the most part. There's always going to be a lone ranger, of course. But, you know, Florida may be about as far north as this sucker gets. It may die over the Caribbean and not reform until it gets to the Gulf of Mexico. But do notice the models pretty much are in strong agreement. This thing keeps strengthening today and tonight. And some models even go major hurricane, which I think would be a little extreme, but not something that would surprise me. If you look at the satellite loop right here, you can see here's Gonzalo, and yeah, these are some extra thunderstorms behind it. It's not super big or super well organized, but the small area of wind is intense. It's kind of like a little derecho, if you want to think about it that way, and continues to track westward over what I think will be favorable water over the next couple of days. But we do have drier air and wind shear to pick up over the Caribbean. So that's that. The models do take Gonzalo, as you can see down here. They I guess we call them dynamic. The larger scale models, like the European here, kind of lose it and don't really do much more with it over the next couple of days. The European here actually is forming a second system right here over the weekend and bringing it up a little farther north, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. So that's something that we have to be concerned with, I think. But Gonzalo, not a real big deal at this point. Tropical Depression 8 was formed last night over the Gulf. It is in a good spot to develop. There's a little bit of wind shear. I think it's going to run out of room, though, before it really gets a chance to ramp up. But for Texas, this is going to bring welcome rain. The rain is definitely needed. So that's something we have to keep an eye on. Let me zip back over here. But our spaghetti models are in great agreement. They're clustered around the middle Texas coast here, like Port Aransas. I'm an LSU fan, so remember Les Miles, the coach who used to call Arkansas Arkansas? Actually, he's up at Kansas now. So he's thinking it's either going to hit Texas or Kansas. I think Texas. All right, that's some awful humor right there. But it looks like a low-end tropical storm. Hannah would be the next one on the charts. If you look at the intensity guidance, it's going to take another day or two to really get there. But we're not thinking hurricane at this point. We're just thinking yet another H storm coming in July, which, again, pretty much unheard of. If you remember the 2005 season that had Dennis, Emily, Katrina, Rita, Wilma, that H storm actually waited till August. So here we are in the middle to end of July, and we're talking H storm, which is pretty incredible. So my forecast was 15 to 20 storms, but do not be completely surprised if I have to ramp that number up into the low 20s. So we may be looking at some pretty crazy stuff. In the Pacific, we now have a major hurricane, Category 3 Hurricane Douglas. And I'm only mentioning this if you're one of those fortunate people who's going to be traveling to Hawaii, because this storm is strengthening still and actually formed pretty rapidly, but it will weaken as it gets closer to Hawaii. But if you look at the track here from the Hurricane Center, it does have maybe a low-end hurricane or strong tropical storm going right across the Big Island here on Sunday. So if you do have travel plans or family out there, I'm sure they're following it pretty quickly, but we'll keep you posted here. Not an issue in the Carolinas, but definitely good agreement that this storm may peak close to Category 4 strength later today, and then this is about the time it gets to Hawaii, so by then it's in cooler waters and weakening, but certainly bringing a bunch of rain. Speaking of that rain, on the Gulf Coast, with what I think will be Hannah, there's definitely on the European a couple of inches possible, but New Orleans and South Louisiana, Mississippi have the best shot at heavy rain with a second push of moisture behind it. So some flooding concerns down here once again. That's something I'll be concerned with. So let's look again at the future of what's going on. You can see Hannah coming in right now to Texas. This is Saturday morning. This is over here what looks to be maybe a weakening Gonzalo, and that continues south of Hispaniola, but right behind it's yet another what I think could be Isaias storm here early next week. That is the Icon, the German model. By the way, it maybe tries to form something here in the Gulf. I don't know about that. I think that might be a little overdone. But here's our GFS American model, and you can see it definitely continues to intensify our storm here, Gonzalo, and then it shows it weakening and maybe even falling apart on Monday and Tuesday south of Hispaniola. That is not too uncommon this time of the year, but I would not be shocked if something tried to get going in here once again, and then we have a storm aiming for Texas, Mexico, or Louisiana. But that is a weekend off. But our next system, again, the model's not showing a lot of certainty yet. It's struggling. I mean, we've got warm water, but we have shear. We have a big high pressure system. So I guess the main deal is this first system, Gonzalo, is going to get blocked by this high pressure system. But here comes another trough. And another system, if this trough starts to break down the ridge, could open things up on the southeast coast for the following weekend, maybe August 7th and 8th. So here in the Carolinas, I'm just going to say stay tuned. We're not going to sound the alarm just yet, but we do think in August things start getting busier. And by September, as this ridge continues to shift north and east and more troughs start to come down, we continue to feel that this is the season that we very well could have. And let me find I guess our pin post is gone. Thanks, Facebook. But our story, again, opening things up to potentially a major hurricane here by September. All right, everyone. Thanks again for joining us, and I will keep you posted. Feel free to subscribe to our channel Follow us on Facebook and check out our models page on CarolinaWXAuthority.com. Have a great day. Stay cool.